So, we have discussed about right against exploitations in the last class. So, we'll be moving into the rights. Okay, today also we'll be discussing about the rights. Meanwhile, I also want you to study the class lectures on the nationalism, which have been posted in the group, as well as public policy uh, and propaganda and the persuasions. One class is already taken on propaganda and persuasion, and another class is uh, another lecture which was posted in the group was of previous year. And one class I have taken. Lecture is of similar variety, but still, when I discuss things, the way I interpret might also cover some distinct aspect which is not covered in that class or maybe covered in this class. And hence, although some lectures are similar in title, the content inside the class and the lecture would be different. So, title wise, there might be lecture seem to look similar, but content would be different a bit, and the way I elaborate and illustrate the things. Hence, I want you to go through all the lectures which are being posted and get a headphone and listen to the lectures. Okay, whenever there is a difficulty in understanding and interpreting uh, the content which are discussed, then you come to me. I will try my best to solve your queries. Okay. Okay then. So we discussed about right of the schedule caste. Right, in the last class, we talked about right against the exploitations while discussing about right against the exploitations. So, we have also discussed about uh, right of children, right of uh, even a few section of the society, especially those contract workers, and abolition of bonded labors, which is very, very important when we discuss about the right against exploitations. And when you talk about the bonded labor, you see bonded labor in last class we have already discussed that's a contractual agreement refers to the labor arised out of contractual agreement between the debitor and the creditor, where the debitor will pay his labor for indefinite, unspecified days just to pay the loan that he has taken or credit he has taken from the creditor. And hence, it's the system which has been there since like long back in India was also abolished through Bonded Labor Prohibition Act, right? And we could also see when we discuss about the caste, schedule caste. So schedule caste, one aspect of schedule caste is also bonded labor, because schedule caste is different from schedule tribe. So when you talk about the schedule tribe, you need to know the difference between schedule caste and schedule tribe. Schedule tribes are actually concentrated in the hill areas and in one specific territory, and especially the hills, and even sometimes especially the plains also. But there is a separate province of the schedule tribe. uh, but when you talk about the schedule caste, they are also territorially segregated and concentrated. But when you talk about their relation to that territory, it will not be independent of the integral, see, caste system which is already prevail, in the sense that you see scheduled tribe are not anyhow integrated to those varna system, right? But scheduled caste is integrated to the varna system, and they are at the bottommost of the varna system, right? And then we also see that in scheduled caste, the means of occupation is different from the scheduled tribe. And scheduled tribe, the means of occupation came from the forest. The livelihood, the source of livelihood is maintained by the commodities they acquire from the nature, and also goods they acquire from the nature. But when you talk about the scheduled caste, their livelihood is mostly dependent upon the upper caste, because they are often landless peasant and community and landless farmers community. So when we talk about the occupation of the scheduled caste, they are often landless farmers, landless peasant, and also those who work some who are engaged in lowly work. in the society, and hence they are being segregated, right? So most of the time their income is also dependent on the upper caste. And when you talk about the Sidil tribe, they do have their own way of earning, right? Hence we would get to see that there are some differences between Sidil caste and Sidil tribe. And when you talk about this monogamy, polygamy, the marriage system, we find in Sidil tribe often the polygamy, polyandry, monogamy, and three kinds of marriage is being, uh, you see, commenced. But here in Sidil caste, we get to see only the monogamy, not polygamy, and the polyandry. Sorry. So we see some differences are there, but our constitution has also protected the right of indigenous communities, protected the rights of the Sidil tribe as well as Sidil caste. Huh. And it is also enshrined in the right to equality. When we talk about equality before law, equal protection of law in our constitution, at the same time, when we also discuss about the cultural and educational rights in Article 29 and 38 in the Indian Constitution as a fundamental rights. It says that indigenous community and the minorities can maintain institution to promote and protect their culture, their heritage. So here, if we look into the sphere of right, regime of right, which are meant for the Sidil caste and the Sidil tribe. So we will first take into account the Sidil tribe. Then we get to see that Sidil tribe are supposed to have the right of self-determination, as I have told you. They can determine how they will govern themselves politically, economically, culturally, and socially. And right to self determination will include the autonomy to choose institutions and the structures. Okay, the unions, units, any kind of structures, they have autonomy to choose, and autonomy to choose the laws, autonomy to choose their own jurisprudence, who will be fair to deal with different kind of legal proceeding within their communities. Okay, and their autonomy to even choose their method of governance, autonomy to choose their method of fair trial. So that autonomy comes under right to self-determination. When we talk about the self-determination, right to govern themselves in what way? Politically they can govern, culturally they can govern. And when you talk about the cultural protection, promotion and protection of the culture of the Sidil tribe, then here also include the protection of traditional medicine, protection of the cultural heritage, language, okay, so that they could transfer their language, their culture, their heritage, their tradition and custom to the children and to their progenies. And hence, right against discrimination or right to non-discrimination is being prescribed for the Sidil tribe. And also you see that it is their right to make every loggers, every environmentalist, every, you see, policy planners to understand their right over the land, over the resources, natural resources, over their occupations, so that they can have a voice over their land resources. And hence, you also see that the certain areas are protected for them to enjoy their rights. Right. We also talk about right against non-discrimination in terms of employment, in terms of, you see, the educations, in terms of representation in government legislature, state legislature, national legislature. That is also another right. And all those rights could be described under right to self-determination. Okay, and this is also very important that is being mentioned in the human rights and as a part of cultural and educational right is that they are not supposed to be forcefully assimilated to any kind of culture. So right against forcible assimilation or right against forcible displacement is a very important right that is availed for them. So they are not supposed to be displaced forcibly, and they are not supposed to be assimilated forcibly to any kind of culture. And when we talk about the rights of the Sidil tribe, we need to understand what multiculturalism is all about. Okay. Because, in certain in previous lectures, I have already discussed about the importance of multiculturalism and also the pluralism. So when we talk about India, India is of real variety because we have multiplicity of caste, class, religions, and ethnicities living in India together. So we actually reflect that pluralist culture. But when we talk about multiculturalism, here we are talking about multiple culture cohabit together. So India is also of the same variety, although our constitutional system is different from the US system, but the US actually embraced that multiculturalism, but you cannot say that India is not embracing. We are also embracing that multiculturalism here. And when we discuss about the rights of the minorities, now which section constitute the minority? We talk about the ethnic section of people, ethnicity, minority on the basis of ethnicity, minority on the basis of language, speaking, minority on the basis of religion, minority on the basis of caste, we are talking. Okay, and also minority as socially identified category. Okay, women are minority in that sense. Children are also minority in that sense because they are socially identified, socially defined as minority. When you understand women from gender lens, then definitely women and women children are categorized as minority, right? So we are talking about ethnically, ethnic minority, right? We are here talking about the caste, like scheduled caste communities and rights they do have in a plural society, in a multicultural societies are very, very important. First one which we have discussed is the self-governance right. Now, a lower caste people and lower caste community will not demand right to self-governance here just because of their very integration to the society in the Saturvarna system. You know, just that by default they're dependent on the upper caste. The division in the society, the hierarchical division in the society, which has been prescribed in Dharma Shastra, was said that they are not supposed to be alienated from the society. They are pretty much integrated into the society, so they can claim the self determination right. Okay, so here self determination means right to govern themselves. Okay, so they can change the religion, they can also convert to another religions, but they cannot like uh, uh, claim for distinct territoriality. Although there is also localization of politics that will define the whole caste structures because of the territoriality of those caste, there are certain castes which are concentrated in certain territories, and that will define uh, uh, even that will define the aura, that will define the power of those caste. Okay, so when we talk about the territorialization, here also we need to distinctly see the scheduled tribe and the scheduled caste. So we talk about minority rights. Yeah, scheduled caste are also minority, and there are also Muslim communities. They are also minority, but they cannot claim right to self-govern here. But you see, the Kemlika is one proponent of multiculturalism, describe those three varieties of the right that minority can claim right to self-governance. Minorities can have polyethnic right. Polyethnic right to preserve their distinct culture, preserve their distinct habitat, preserve their distinct custom. He also said that a Muslim can be exempted from the animal slaughtering like laws. Then you see you cannot even prevent or seek to carry a kripan. You cannot make them wear a helmet. So that is to be considered. That is to be considered, taking into account their culture, taking into account their customs. So we need to be sensitive and tolerate their cultural practices. Okay, so that is also one right. At the same time, You see, when you talk about multiculturalism, it is talking about cohabitance, it is talking about tolerance, right? And it stems from the liberal traditions. You see, multiculturalism also stems from the liberal tradition, but it involves a lot of contradiction at the same time. The kind of contradiction it shows is that when we talk about women's circumcision, so it cannot tolerate that female circumcision. It is not to be tolerated. So you simply give them the right, you are tolerating, but you cannot tolerate something which is against the human right, human dignity, and this that you see the worth of a human being, right? So hence somewhere we get to see some kind of contradiction to understand the multicultural variety when we talk about the salad bowl concept instead of a melting pot, because here we don't want to assimilate it. It's an everyone in a melting pot. Everyone will be melted down and assimilated, embracing one culture and speaking one language. No, we actually embrace that salad ball variety where there are different fruits, different like vegetables. They are also cohabiting. So exist, and it's not like our releasing, but it's releasing the diversity. So you get to see different variety of fruits, vegetables, releasing their diversity, and that's how we can embrace the diversity. And that is being, you see, prescribed in multiculturalism. And here in Indian context also, we get to understand how we embrace this practice, how we exercise this multiculturalism. So here we get to find those three varieties of rights. One is the self-governance, right to self-governance, determining their political organizations, how they will govern themselves culturally, socially, economically. They themselves will decide. And the right, polyethnic right, the right to cultural distinctiveness. So, how to maintain the cultural distinctiveness so that they could get some relief from the legislation and this the national law. So, they demand relief from some kind of relief from the national law and the legislations. And suppose we can even talk about the take exemption of some kind of religious practices. But when you talk about like state funded institution, they cannot go for any kind of religious practices. They're not supposed to be exempted from tax also. But there are certain practices, even religious organization also claim for tax exemption. Right. So when we talk about the polyethnic right, there are multiple varieties of right come into exist. Okay, even women wearing a hijab, going to school, French government has already abolished that practice that each and everyone is supposed to be in uniform, irrespective of the religions. But polyethnic right also said that what's wrong in wearing hijab, as this is their like this is demanded by and claimed by the religions. So like that way we get to see certain rights uh, and certain aspect which are being highlighted by scholars like Imlika and all. Then what we see, another right is also the special representation, which I have discussed. Special representation is a positive discrimination of minority, positive discrimination in favor of minority, in the sense that this positive discrimination in favor of minorities so that they could compensate the historical discrimination meted out to them, and hence the reservation is important. And special representation of women in school, in legislatures, in any institution is very important. Okay, that representation, right to represent it, themselves. So how children will represent themselves, how women will represent themselves. I need 33% like representation for me in state legislature. So that is a claim because we are also minority, and that's how I could think to redress the discrimination meted out by me and my community for long. So that is important, 33% reservations, and also reservation. In that way, reservation for you see this OBC, SC, ST is very, very important positive discriminations. But we see a different pictures altogether. Caste politics is different from reservation. So you cannot clap caste politics to reservation, but reservation can also cause the caste politics. This is also true. But a reservation is a right, that is also a special representation right. But when you talk about the caste politics, how uh, caste is being politicized in a sense that when you talk about this en bloc vote group in almost all states in India, we get to see about some en bloc vote groups. People vote in terms of caste basis. So caste consideration has been one aspect to select a candidate for contesting an election. And also you see there are different caste, they have formed alliances, the caste-based alliances. We talk about that Kham alliances, that Khatriyas, then um, Harijans, then Ahirs, and Muslim, that is a Kham alliance, that is a caste-based alliance. And we talk about even Asgar alliance, we talk about Asgar, that is the Ahir, Jat, and Gujjar alliances. So, like that way, we Swatantra Party, that is also formed by the Swatantra Party is formed by, I think, that is, yeah, Jat, and Rajput. They have put a Swatantra Party in 1969. It was actually formed. So like that way in Bihar, we get to see the caste-based alliances are very acute. So when you talk about the politicization of the caste is different from the reservation, from the special representation, right? And hence it is also said perhaps politicization of the caste might lead to reservation, but no, it as also has a different picture altogether, because it increases the vote arithmetic, but not necessarily that it will bring in the special representation right of those lowly caste or so-called impure caste. Okay, so that is another picture of the story. And we see when we talk about this multiculturalism, to understand the educational and the cultural rights of the minorities, it is not something which is very specific to India and the US. Even in UK, we talk about Canada, we talk about Australia, each and every continent and the regions have embraced this multiculturalism. When Australia embraced Asianization or Asian communities, they embrace multiculturalism. That is a multicultural policy. They have adopted multicultural policy. At the same time, we talk about this Canada reconciliation between the French-speaking Quebec and English-speaking communities. We actually see they adopted multiculturalism. UK, when we talk about the rights of the black and that is racial communities, you talk about multiculturalism. In USA also, when you talk about the civil rights movement, which started in 1960, formed and founded the very ground and base of multiculturalism. So, in that way, when we talk about this spatial representation of minorities, it's not something very specific to India, but we have a different understanding of one community, and that is entirely on caste line. That is a pure and impure variety, which is not there. But you see, in USA we have the race. Even in USA, in UK, we have the race, so which always demand on the basis of race. They demand the spatial representation right, because they are being completely like segregated. And even you also see that race concept here, it is also very much acute and you see, populated here in India. It is penetrated in India, this race concept. When you talk about how race concept is penetrated, we talk about the Brahmin, who are usually fair skinned, Savarna, they are fair skinned, toned body, right? And something which women should use, always look for. So that is also another like racial concept. even in the US, even if someone is not from the Brahmin and caste basis, fair toned will not face any time that type of racial discrimination. And yes, if someone is not having that fair skin, will definitely face the racial discrimination in the US. It's still there. So I have also found there are some examples, even like my um, uh, Nanad is in Princeton University, so it is not recorded. She herself said, because she is a fair tone, so she did not face any kind of racial discrimination, married to a US person at the same time, so equal the nationality out there. So that is not a problem. But yeah, there are also some people from Indian origin who has who haven't got the that fair skin, even if they are Brahmin will not get the same treatment. So you see that race is there in it's still there. The discrimination on the basis of color, discrimination on the basis of skin is there in the USA. So you cannot even say that those rights are not relevant. Those rights are very, very relevant. You need to study those rights, and you are supposed to be sensitive to the rights, polyethnic rights, spatial representation rights, self governance right. Okay. Um, then, when we talk about the rights of women and the children, I'll take a special class on it. So, you might also have. Uh, that elective on women studies, few of have taken an elective in women studies department, so you have some understanding about the kind of subjugation that women are facing. You are sensitized about the subjugation that women are facing, those of you who haven't taken an elective, because we have studied in details about different kind of subjugations, and we talk about first wave, second wave, third wave feminism, you actually know. And right from the suffragette movement, which was started in 1860, that was the first wave feminism, right? It was started during 1860. First wave feminism that demanded right to vote for the women, but they're independent of political parties of that time, independent of political organization of that, of that time. Hmm. Because they said that their struggle for justice and equality is of their variety. No political party can give them the right. But yeah, they demanded equal right to participate because they are of liberal variant. So they are basically liberal feminist during 1860s, the first wave feminism, when they demanded right to vote, right to contest elections, right to equally participate in the public life along with the man. But when you talk about the gender and the sex concept, this is very important to understand because the concept of sex, which is biological, gender, which is socially defined, right? So all of we understand it. But when we talk about the sex-based equality, sex-based equality cannot be interpreted because sex-wise we are unequal. But when you talk about the gender, we are not unequal because that is a social problem. So our relation with someone is socially defined. Our relation, our work, our role is socially defined. Just because we are of a different, sex or male, female, right? So when we categorize male and the female, those are social statistical categorization to have a clear understanding. But this social categorization of male, female cannot be the hindrance of you see hindrance of exercising uh, our role in the society. So gender, you need to understand, one is biologically defined and another is socially defined. Gender is socially defined, so we are born different, but at the same time society has also entrusted upon certain task to and define our role, that this is supposed to be done by women, this is meant for men. Okay, so nurture is something which is always imposed upon women, defined uh, over women. So women are there to nurture, but you see, at the same time, we here need to understand the patriarchal, the system of patriarchy. So that day I have seen one video I forgot the context. That was context was the feminism. Basically, they're like radical feminist. Uh, and in India, we won't get to see that flavor of radical feminism, but in Facebook, we get to see. And sometimes it also feels that it's very bizarre the way they have protested because their ideology is somehow understandable and it can also uh, be decipherable. But when you get to see that action, so it actually takes us to that extent when they won't wear any clothes and in a way to protest uh, for the rights, for their you say equal say in the public life. Because when you talk about the radical feminism, you also know that radical feminism are different from the Marxist feminist, and uh, radical feminists are different from even this you say liberal feminist, right? Because for them. There should not be any kind of binary between public and the private. Huh. But here in liberal feminism, they accept that binary between public and a private, but they want to equally participate in public life. They want a representation right. But radical feminism, they want beyond representations. They want uh, to uh, redefine the social structure which are there in the society. So they equate power with the public life. They said that private and the personal is devoid of the power, and what is public is political and it's powerful. And hence, the structure of the society, which will define the role of women and the social relationship, is supposed to be uh, remade remade it in the sense that it is to be changed. That's what their version, so that they can participate. So way you demand a 33% reservation will not make any difference in terms of women's right according to radical feminists. And when we talk about the Marxist variety, the similarity between Marx and the like the radical feminism, Marxist feminism and radical feminism, are such that both consider state as an oppression. State is an oppression, and hence they are talking about Marx talking about a classless society, and in a communist society, women can enjoy the rights. There are certain rights like right to health, right to work, right to equal pay, okay, and right to get the social security, right to educations. These are very important for women, and apart from the political rights. So here in liberal tradition, we get to see emphasize upon civil and political rights. Because suffragette movement started, but they also separated from political parties. You see, they did not have any alienations or affiliation to political party when it started in 1860. We talk about Mary Wollstonecraft Vindication of the Rights of Women. That was the book came, and there are many liberal, like feminist, and they disassociate themselves from political parties, but they demanded that special representation right and representation reservation of the seat for this women, right? So it's important for us also to understand the rights of the women. I'll take another class for it. So we need to know about women's role in development. You know about WID, you know about women in development, women and development, those concepts are also there. Gender mainstreaming concept are there. So it's very, very important to understand. And also some rights, the human rights which are meant for women. As women are in abject deprivations, there are some human rights which are meant for women, like conventions on elimination of discrimination against the women. There are also convention. Uh, Protection of the women during the emergency and the armed conflict, apart from the UN Declaration of Human Rights. So there are numerous conventions which also came into being as a part of the implementations of international uh, order across the countries, across the globe. So those conventions are important conventions, which will lead to eliminate different kind of violence, even elimination of discrimination and elimination of violence against women. That declaration came in 1993. Huh. And that tried to eliminate all kind of violence, mental, physical, and psychological violence against women, right? And also there is convention to nationality, convention on women's nationality, which is very important. Convention on women's nationality, that if husband of one woman, uh, you see, the renunciate the nationality of that state or adopt the nationality of other state, will not affect the nationality of this of his wife. That is also one thing. And if a wife, if a foreigner or alien is married to a person, acquires the nationality of the husband by the process of naturalization. Okay, so and but there are some limitation and subject to reasonable restriction on the basis of public policy and national security. Those two concepts are there, and on that basis, you actually see there are some cases which are raised. You see, politically, this is entirely politicized, even in the context of Assam and the regions and Gaurav Gogai's wife, because that was being pointed out, and hence the linkage was developed to it. You see this, and the ISA and the Pakistan and all, because that was the point which actually weakened the naturalization process, acquiring the citizenship on the basis of naturalization. So it happens. So there are certain rights, but whenever there is a reasonable restriction, you need to see where it could be, like, where it is implemented, how it is implemented, and why it is happening. So you need to understand. Okay, so it's important. Then, uh, apart from it, what we should discuss, rights of the children. So, which I will not elaborate much, because we all know about the rights of the children, or maybe in one class I could take, but it's uh, all right. And then religious right, that will come prior to this ethnic rights or rights of the minorities. We talk about the right to religion, right to profess, propagate religions, okay, which is very important. Article 25 to 28, we do have right to religion, and right to hold property, uh, and movable and immovable property, and in the way of maintaining religious institution is also uh, given and answering. So when you talk about right to religion, so you can profess, propagate religion, and also right to conversion is also given, but at the same time it should not be out of inducement. You cannot induce to convert religion and convert to another religion, which is also mentioned at the same time. And establishing religious institutions and not out of state fund can demand even the exemption of the tax at the same time. And they can also propagate the religious belief. But if one institution is funded by the state is not supposed to propagate the religious belief and religions. So, like that way, that right to preach the religion, profess and propagate religion is also enshrined. And it is important to understand right to religion when you understand different varieties of communalism here in India. Okay, so why it has been happening when there is a politicization uh, of the religion. So we are not supposed to mix religion with the politics. When we talk about a secular state, every religion should get the equal footing uh, in terms of professing, propagating. But you see that a state is not supposed to interfere in the religious right of the individual, because that is a private right. People, every individual has a right to profess, propagate religion, and its state is supposed to not interfere. And that is also a meaning of the secularism. And we also see even state is not supposed to interfere in the religious right of the community as well as individual. So hence we see that although it is there and enshrined in the constitutions, um, because of acuteness of, you see, this identity politics uh, that came after 1950s. Actually it started after 1950s, even in the world context also. If you study the identity politics, that originated after 1950s, you know. So because of that acuteness of this identity politics, now we get to find the existence of communalism here. Different form of communalism. We get to see Sikh communalism, Muslim communalism, Hindu communalism is there to protect their rights to establish a Hindu Rashtra, to establish a Punjabi Suba on the basis of the religion. So when you talk about this, like, you know, Sikh communalism is also very acute, because they want to have their institution, their culture, their religion, their language to be protected, want to get representation in the schools, in the Sarkari office, in even government, that the office casaries, whatever the office is. So, because of their representation, because of getting the benefit of employment, getting the benefit of, you see, job and educations, they want to establish a religious state. So, Punjabi Suba is on the basis of the religions. And there is also Sikh Gurudwara Prabandhak Samiti, and that committee is responsible for maintaining the gurudwaras, and gurudwaras, they usually hold a lot of money and the properties. And they not only maintain the communities through those, like, you know, monies, maintain the gurudwaras, promote, protect the gurudwaras, but also create a linkages extraterrestrial level, uh, that is outside India, that is Prabhasi Bharatiya communities. They usually have a maintenance of contact and connections with the Sikh outside the India. Like that way, they themselves demand that distinctiveness. They are distinct community, by the way. And when they demanded the Akali Dal, especially Punjabi sub a separate, like, you know, state on the basis of religions, uh, that is in order to preserve their language, in order to preserve their culture, and also the religion, and get that representation. So you see, when you talk about the special representation, so demand may be of different variety. So here you get to see the different kind of politics come in. We talk about caste politics, identity politics, regionalization is very, very important, regionalism. Uh, and even caste regionalism is also very, very important. When there are leaders, there are social choices and different forces coming to being. Uh, and there are castes, certain castes which are concentrated in particular regions. They also created alliance. Okay, not necessarily they will definitely protect and promote that caste only, and they have got an equal footing and they have got the benefit of the reservations. But yeah, we get to see that's a different politics which came out of. And religion is also included into the political life. So religion is basically, you see, this private affair when you talk about the religion, right? It has nothing to do with the public. Huh. But you see, it is also one means to even increase the vote arithmetic now. Huh. And it is also, perhaps it is said that if there are different communal groups, so in order to create a equilibrium and a balance, so one group should come up. So like that way also different communal group have come up. One, the, like the Muslim communal group come up. Okay, to prevent it, we talk about the Hindu communal group. It came up. The Jansang, BJP was offshoot of Jansang. Jansang was also established by Shama Prakash Mukherjee. You know that in 19. Uh, then we talk about the RSS. That is also another. In order to establish Akhand Bharat and the Hindu Rashtra, basically the Hindu Rashtra and this Akhand Bharat. But now their philosophy and ideology uh, have changed to an extent. You see, I have also seen RSS have mm, working in socio-economic development in different sectors apart from protecting and promoting the history and the culture. Okay, so so over the years, their ideology has been changed, but yeah, the one ideology with which they have a hold on, is also important. Otherwise, we can also say that you do not have an ideology. And even that's why our multi-party system has been failed in India, just because most of the parties do not have a very strong ideological basis. Okay, so that is also one thing. But you should not even encourage that ideology. Okay, because we believe in multiculturalism at the same time. So you see, there are contradictions, but it depends how you look into it. And there are more to deliberate and discuss here. So, hence, I want you to ask question. Otherwise, I'll keep on speaking the same time because you will not even question me. So, I want you to question so that we can have some deliberation in the class. Okay, so it's important. And then, okay, quickly I'll finish it off. Okay, then we have right to constitutional remedies. So we have certain rights, like have you know about the constitutional remedies that you can move to court for enjoying those rights, right? We have this that is a habeas. You know about that mandamas. You know that. Sorry, habeas corpus, what I'm saying. Mandamas is there, then we have quo warranto is there, then we have certiorari is there, then we have prohibitions, then we have that is a habeas corpus. Okay, so habeas corpus is bring body to the court, bring body to the court, uh, and also to justify detention. It is important. Bring body to the court to any kind of mm, that repressive organ or an authority which detain a person, ask that institution why the person is being detained, especially the repressive organ and the police, and bring the body of the person who is being, and bring the person to the custody who is being detained. So that was habeas corpus. That means uh, bring the body. And then we talk about the mandamas. Mandamas is basically a order to perform an act to save people from inequality. So one organization is not performing, not even recruiting on the basis, maybe on the basis of the reservation and on the basis of some policies and the programs. So court can also uh, order that institution to perform if there is a petition. If there is a petition to perform that institution and to save people from injustice. Then we also have prohibition. Prohibit the lower court. Court can prohibit lower court to exercise their jurisdiction which is beyond their scope. Many times lower court can exercise power hmm, which is not within their jurisdiction. So higher court can prohibit the lower court to exercise the jurisdiction beyond their scope. We also have certiorari. That is another right which is important. It is also to order the lower court hmm, uh, to give the record of any kind of cases and the proceeding to the higher court. Hmm. Then go warranto, we get to see about of the similar variety. That is also established relation between this lower court and the higher court. So you need to understand these varieties of the rights, and within these varieties of rights, there are so many instances coming up. So you can discuss those instances. If you come across one case study, so it will be easier for you also to elaborate those right. So I want you, this is not an assignment at all, I want you to understand the right by way of getting one example. Hmm. And the cases to explain and argue with. So that's what you can do. You understand right to equality. You get one instance, one case. So you also give a case study. Okay. In that basis, if you write, if you analyze, so definitely your writing will also improve. So there are also different positions that you could hold in this in the press fair. Race is also very important public sphere, right? So that you know how to even analyze a political act, how to analyze, how to report human rights violations. So it's important. It's basically when you talk about the human rights violations and the reporting human rights violation, you are supposed to look into the both side. But in hard news, we do not have that much scope to cover this both side of the issues, and you are supposed to be very much sensitive. Okay. How we deal with different problems, whether it's structural problems, conflictual issues, or what. That's all. I'll finish it off and okay.